Hello, all. Thank you so much for joining us today for the LCSNW Lunch and Learn. This is our first of a series of 8. So I hope that you're joining us today and that we'll see you again for some of our other series that are coming up at the same day. So next week, same time at noon, for some additional topics that cover different refugee services and topics that we have at LCSNW. We're in webinar mode, as you might be able to tell. So we have our chats at the bottom. If you're newer to Zoom, you can wiggle your mouse and see at the bottom that there is a chat bubble. And then there's also a Q&A bubble. If you have questions throughout this presentation, please throw them into that question and answer bubble. And then if you just have some general comments or cheers of support or wow, look at that, feel free to put those into the chat. Another bit of information, we are recording our time today so that we can share this out once our Lunch and Learn is over. So you will notice that little icon as well. Now, we have 4 amazing panelists who have graciously allowed us to use some of their time today. First, we'll be hearing from Daryl, who is our Director of Refugee Resettlement. Next, after Daryl, we'll hear from Lisa, who is our Program Director of Refugee Community Services, followed by Jay, who is our District Director for the Greater Puget Sound area. And last, but certainly not least, we'll hear from Jean-Paul, who is one of our esteemed board members and community members. Behind the scenes, we've got Jamie, who is our Chief Advancement Officer, who is running all of our tech. She is very versatile. And Jenica, who is an advancement manager in the Portland area, who is again helping with logistics. You'll see her pop in and out of chat as well in the question and answer box. And me, my name is Carrie, and I am the Director of Major Giving here at Lutheran Community Services Northwest. Now, I know you did not come here to see me talk and introduce folks. So let's get ready to have some lunch and dig in to some of this great information that we have lined up for you today. To kick us off, we have Daryl, who again is our Director of Refugee Resettlement. Daryl, take it away.
Thanks, Carrie. And we're excited to have this opportunity to share our work helping refugees resettle and begin new lives in the Pacific Northwest. A little bit about myself. I've been involved in refugee work for about 20 years, starting with a project in Papua New Guinea, and then in Thailand and Southeast Asia. And then later after that in the Middle East, in Amman, Jordan, and had brief stints in Cambodia, Iraq, Syria, and even a working visit to Moscow and Kyiv. For the past 7 years, I've been working at LIRS, which is one of the largest resettlement agencies in the US, located in Baltimore. And that's the agency with which LCSNW is affiliated nationally. But I'm happy now to be back in my home state of Washington. Next slide, please. So when you hear the word refugee, what do you think of? Please write your thoughts in the chat box. I'll give you about 30 seconds. What does refugee come to mind? What comes to mind when you hear the word refugee? Okay, good. We're getting some in. Displaced, escaping danger, someone fleeing war or oppression, uncertainty, desperate, yes, danger, homeless, escaping from intolerable circumstances. Oh, this is fantastic. Homeless, no things, not in their own country. Someone fleeing from their nation due to danger, escaping danger, starving, yes. Yes, sorrow, someone who's been forced to leave their home country. All right. The wayfarer and stranger referred to in scripture. Good. Okay. Thank you for that. Next slide, please. So the United Nations, through its agency UNHCR, has a definition for refugees. It's someone who is unable or unwilling to return to their country of origin owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. Now, one of the durable solutions for refugees is resettlement to a new country. And we'd like to show a brief video describing Lutheran Community Services' longstanding role in providing refugee services coming to start their new lives in the Pacific Northwest. So we go to the video slide. Oh, okay.
Separation from your homeland is quite traumatic. It's an incredible loss. Everything is taken away from you overnight. It's quite traumatic in many respects. But then there's also hope. I mean, that's what gets people that hope that they begin a life anew. Lutherans have been involved in the resettlement world since after the World War II. When I started working with Lutheran Community Services Northwest, this is 1984, we were accepting refugees from Africa, Afghanistan, Southeast Asian refugees, former Soviet Union. The list goes on to more than 25 to 30 countries that we have had refugees from.
I was a client of this Lutheran Community Service. So I came through this resettlement agency. I was youth army translator in Afghanistan for 10 to 11 years. So finally, because of my working so long with the U.S. Army, my life and my family got in danger. I want to help people. It was my goal from the beginning to now, and it will be. But I see other refugees were coming. Some of them did not understand the language. Some of them has issue with transportation. And I say, okay, I have time now. Let's assist other clients, other refugees.
The services that we provide are wraparound services to get them on a right footing in terms of becoming a contributing member in their local communities. Behavioral health, youth services, volunteer services, ESL services, citizenship services. So that's how it starts when a refugee first arrives.
I'm very grateful, I'm very happy with the support of people. We get 100 calls every day. These people say that we will assist with the money, some say that we assist with the starter kits, housing, we have housing. If we didn't have that support, so the resettlement will face very challenge.
The family has received just an outpouring of support. When Kais and I heard that we were going to host them, we put a call out to our community on all of our social platforms and to our friends and family and said, you know, we're hosting them, but we want as much as a communal effort that could happen, and people really showed up.
Service for me is huge in terms of what we do as an agency. We try to be there for folks that are needing us those early days, but tremendous partnership in terms of seeing them succeed in their life. So that's what we do.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. So I want to talk a little bit about the overseas refugee process. How do people get from overseas to here? So when someone is forced to leave their country and the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program starts to accept people from that particular situation, it can take between 12 to 18 months just to gear up. And so the first thing is an agency referral. It's a referral from the United Nations, a U.S. embassy, or another NGO. And the U.S. government makes the decision that, yes, we're going to help people who are fleeing from this particular situation. But then becomes a very strict and complicated and drawn out process of screening. So there's a very strict biographic security check. I don't know if you can see at the bottom of that second column there, all of the alphabet soup of the agencies that people are checked for security: FBI, DOD, DHS, DA, and more. Then there's, if they pass through the security screening, then they get an interview with the Department of Homeland Security. We send teams to the locations where the people are, and they do a face-to-face interview just to see if they meet the conditions for becoming a refugee to be resettled in the US. There's a biometric security check. And then the final step of the screening process is a medical screening to make sure there are no contagious diseases, that anything like that has been taken care of before they come to the US. And almost the last thing is a cultural orientation to help people start to get the idea of what it will mean to start a new life here in America. Then the International Organization for Migration, who I used to work for, they arrange travel. And people fly from wherever they are to the US, they arrive in the US, and that's where LCSNW's work begins. So in the next slide, please. Okay, so it doesn't begin just with people coming to the airport, though. It begins 2 weeks before, or as soon as we get notice that they will be coming to this area. So we need to find an apartment for them. We need to furnish that apartment, make sure there are beds, places to sit, a table to eat at, and all of the kitchen things they need. Then someone picks them up. It could be any time of day or night that they will be arriving, and someone from our team will pick them up at the airport or arrange for a US tie to do the same. They are welcomed with a culturally appropriate meal. And then within the first day, a home visit is made, and they're taken for a community orientation, just what's in their neighborhood, where are they going to get food, taking them grocery shopping. Within the first couple of weeks, there are several other services we provide, including cultural orientation from this side. The cultural orientation they received overseas was, that was very general. But now they're in this location, they're living in our communities, and they need to know how to live here. And there are many, many other steps going on. There's arranging medical appointments, there's arranging for the Social Security card, and refugee cash assistance program, and many other things, English programs that we're responsible for the first 90 days after arrival. Can we go past the video now, Jamie? So here's a list of some of those basic services that we provide. When a refugee family resettles here, they're in need of just about everything to help them get started. And LCSNW provides a wide variety of services, including safe and secure housing, ethnically appropriate food, employment services, including job training and job search skills, school enrollment for the children. Again, cultural orientation, providing the skills and knowledge that they need to survive and make a life here. Assistance connecting to public benefits, English classes, and our behavioral health services. Next slide, please. Since October 2021, that's just, 5 months ago? LCSNW has resettled 723 Afghans in our 3 resettlement sites, Portland, Tacoma, and Vancouver. And our staff and volunteers have been receiving people at the airport, as I said, at all hours of the day and night, waiting with smiles and welcome signs. Next slide. The US closed all of the military bases. There were 9 military bases that the people who were airlifted out of Afghanistan were put on, and they all closed at the end of February. So our agency was asked to take a large number. We resettled more people in the past 4 months than we generally do in an entire year. And this put a tremendous strain on our local staff and resources in terms of providing transportation, finding emergency housing, and furnishing apartments. So the wave of Afghan refugees is slowing now, but it's by no means over. Thousands more who fled from Afghanistan to other countries will be joining their families who are now in the US. Next slide. All right. So the refugee resettlement process is really a two-way street. And helping these newcomers arrive and become part of our community would not be possible without strong support from the community. So we want to thank you for helping us to welcome our new neighbors.
I echo that wholeheartedly, Daryl. It's been absolutely phenomenal to see the rise in support and the community come together around us as we support these folks as they come to us too. It has been a complete community effort. And so we're thankful not only to have your support, but to have you here to be learning a little bit more and maybe about some additional ways that you can participate in this process as we have these people with us for a little bit of time. I'm very excited to have Lisa up next. She's going to dive into some additional programs that happen down in our Portland metro area. So for some more food for thought, sticking with our lunch theme, we're going to head over to Lisa.
Thanks, Carrie. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Kalala-Dali, and I'm, as already mentioned, the Program Director of Refugee Community Services in our Portland metro area. And so I just want to talk a little bit, take a few minutes to talk about some of the services and programs we have for refugee and immigrant communities down here in Oregon, continuing off of the resettlement process once people are here. So go to the next slide. So in Oregon, we use refugee as an umbrella term for many of our funding that we receive from the state. So that includes folks that are refugees defined as Daryl defined them. It also includes people with some different immigration statuses like asylees or the humanitarian parole, which is what many of the Afghan folks have as their immigration status, or a special immigrant visa, all these different immigration statuses that kind of fall under the same scope of people that are enforced migration that have had to come to the US through a refugee-like experience. So that is kind of the umbrella term that we use for most of our programs. We have lots of different eligibility for all of our programs, but just to kind of give that bigger picture of what who might be considered a refugee, at least in Oregon. Next slide. So this is a service map that in Oregon, we, and I think in many states, but specifically down here, we're really, we have a really amazing community of folks that are supportive of refugees, not just the larger community, which definitely is, but also our service provider community. We work really closely with our community partners, with other resettlement agencies and other service providers to provide services for refugees from their initial landing at the airport, as Daryl was talking about, those first 90 days, but then also beyond. So this this map gives a little bit, we tried to create a visual map of services for folks. So there's not a lot of language, so that people that maybe don't read or speak English could also identify kind of this visual of services that are available as people transition from that first 90 days initial welcome into their new home and then kind of beyond. So this shows all of the different basic needs that are met, much of what Daryl talked about, all those different initial services we get people set up with, then into ongoing care as well. Different services that we can provide or that our other service agency partners provide as well. So just, it's a long road for folks. We're able to serve them in that first 90 days, but we have a lot of services that continue past that as well. Next slide. Our primary program that we're able to continue serving refugees with in Oregon is called our Extended Case Management Program. This program is funded through the state legislature. It's really it's very rare that a state would fund this long of a case management program. We're able to serve folks for up to 2 years, 24 months. We're one of just a few, I think maybe 3 to 5 states that have a program like this that are able to work with folks for this extended period of time. And the focus really is providing that wraparound, that really individualized support. So, you know, after we get people settled here in those first 90 days is a whirlwind. It's a real short amount of time to be able to get people up and running, and our resettlement program does an amazing job of doing that. And then we're able to continue with these other programs to kind of step in and really help people feel, you know, get really settled here in their new home. So this program is newer. We've had it for a couple years since the state has decided to make serving refugees a priority. And so we are really grateful to be able to continue to serve people for up to 2 years through this program. Next slide. We also have a whole slew of other programs that we're able to serve folks down here in Oregon, Portland metro area. We are able to provide services for parenting support, for school enrollment and school navigation. We have a program that helps people apply for health insurance. You know, it's part of the initial resettlement process to get people set up with state health insurance. But we have a continuing program that when people, what can often happen is once people start working, if they hit a certain threshold, they can get cut off of health insurance, or there's a lot of back and forth sometimes with state health insurance. So we're able to support people in staying insured or navigating that process. We have a new program that we've just been getting started in Oregon. I know it's up in Seattle too, but in Oregon this year with supporting asylum seekers. So folks who have applied for asylum but are still kind of in that pending state of being granted asylum that we're able to provide case management for. We have citizenship classes. We have an intensive case management program that kind of is also able to continue on past those first 90 days and really providing ongoing support for families and individuals that have higher needs. So just a lot of different programs that we are able to provide continued support down here in Oregon. And next slide. And then another program that we have down here is our mental health program. And so just to highlight some of our community-based work in the mental health field, we do have a traditional counseling program that we primarily serve refugees and immigrants in a culturally specific mental health counseling program. And then we also have some specific community-based initiatives to support people's emotional wellness. We have a program that is often referred to as the Pathways to Wellness program that is a community-based outreach and engagement focus on kind of a mental health 101, helping communities understand what mental health is in the US and how to acknowledge and recognize symptoms of needing more support for one's emotional health, or how to support each other in a community. We do a lot of group support or group trainings, education activities in that program. We also have a newer to us substance use disorder outreach program, working with folks, again, in a very kind of community-based, education-based way of providing information around substance use disorder, what that is, what that means here in the US, what treatment is, what that looks like here in the US, and how to connect individuals and families with that have those needs to services. And then we also, another program just to really highlight is our community, our culturally specific peer support specialist training, which is a training that we have had state certified for maybe about 5 years now or so, that really focuses on building the workforce of mental health providers from refugee and immigrant communities. So it's a program that trains individuals who identify as being a refugee or an immigrant who have experienced, have some sort of experience with mental health treatment or diagnosis or struggle of their own, to then support those that are going through that as well, coming from that specific, culturally specific point of view, coming from the communities that folks are coming from. We have a lot of staff, our program staff that are identified as those peers, and we've been able to train, I'm not sure of the current number, it's over 100 individuals that we've been able to train in the community around to be peer support specialists, culture specific peer support specialists. And it's a huge part of our program and our outreach within the greater Portland area as well. So I know I just spoke really fast, but just trying to get through. We have lots of programs. It's really exciting. It all starts with refugee resettlement, but we're really excited about all the other ways that we're able to continue to support people once they're here and how we can continue with that. So that's my quick overview of programs we provide.
It's true. It's a quick one, but the services on the ground are so impactful and amazing to see. Some of the folks who have arrived to us have already hit that 90-day limit. So getting to see that extended case management and these other services come around these folks who are here and still so new and experiencing so many challenges with some of the systems that they've been thrust into and have to navigate they have partners and they have friends and case managers to help them walk through those. So it's been amazing to see this come to life and be invested in more since there was such a reduction of force over a period of time. It's been absolutely amazing. Speaking of wraparound services, now that we've heard a little bit about what that looks like in Portland, let's get ready to take another bite out of this bigger picture and hear what happens in our greater Puget Sound area from Jay. Jay, welcome.
Thank you, Carrie. Hello, everyone. It's really nice seeing you. My name is Jay Kang. I am the Senior District Director with the Greater Puget Sound. And I am also an immigrant and myself, and I came to United States when I was 15 years old, and I've been serving immigrant and refugee population and communities since 1986. I've been serving the population for all my life, and we do great things here at the Greater Puget Sound. Next slide, please. So our Greater Puget Sound covers King, Snohomish, Pierce, Kitsap, and Clallam counties at this point. And as you know, I mentioned here, we had two separate districts, North Puget Sound and South Puget Sound. North Puget Sound primarily serving King and Snohomish County, and South Puget Sound, Pierce, Kitsap, Clallam counties. We merged together in the beginning of this year, so fairly new, for Greater Puget Sound. As you guys probably know, that we have our office, for resettlement at the Tacoma office here in Pierce County, and serving Pierce, Snohomish County, and also King County as well, for all those folks who are resettling here. So that's who we are in terms of our Greater Puget Sound district. Next slide, please. What do we do? So after that 90 days benefit period is over, we do a lot of wraparound services. Basically, we provide all the services: youth, children, families, and seniors, and self-sufficiency. And we also do have community resource centers. So we have 3 sites, and our primary services, wraparound services that we provide is around mental health, and then also refugee and immigrant services, including asylum seekers services. We do a lot of services around asylum seekers. There are many organizations out there in the nation who serve asylum seekers, but LCSNW provides that service. We are one of the few in the country. Next, please. So let's get into youth services here. There's a program called the Unaccompanied Refugee Minor, URM. That is actually a resettlement program for youth who are here unaccompanied. We are one of the larger organizations providing URM services. We currently do have about 100 youth. Recently, we've received the youth from Afghan area, and we have about 5 youth from that region right now under our care. When they're connected here, they are connected to foster families, or they live individually, independently with our case management and support and things like that, or group home setting. So we currently do have about 45 foster families. We need a lot more moving forward, but we currently do have about 45 foster families. There are 50-50, either resettled overseas or resettled here in the United States. And the ratio of gender here is 75% male and 25% female. And then, as I mentioned, they are living across the board, either with the foster families or independently, or a resident program. And here are the, some of the language groups that you see from some, African country, South America, and then some from, Central Asia and all that. And we also do have a youth mentorship program. We are serving refugee youth through youth empowerment mentorship. So we connect them with the different mentors, volunteers to make sure they receive support from them. Next slide, please. Another one that we provide is refugee and immigrant services. As you can see, we serve refugees, SIV, special immigration visa grantees, asylees, asylum seekers, and immigrants as well, in case management, mental health, and medical, legal, housing services. As I mentioned here, we provide services from case management to help them with like a complex, medical services or appointments, and be that a person in between medical provider and us, and then also mental health as well. One of the things that I want to highlight is about the survivors of torture, and evaluation network here. We provide mental health services for those people who survive from their torture from their country. So we connect them. We do the evaluation. We connect them with the pro bono counselors or clinicians or medical provider to make sure they receive that mental health and the physical support that they need, and then legal services and case management as well. So that's what that is all about. And another thing that I want to highlight is about housing program here. We are actually one of a few in the country providing housing assistance program. So a lot of people who resettle here, before they are granted of EAD, employment authorization documentations, they cannot work. So that means they don't have any income source. So a lot of them are homeless if they don't have any place to stay. So we actually help out with the housing assistance program through a generous donation from a funder or individual who fund this program for next 3 years. So we're utilizing that to support this population. And we also do have one thing that I want to emphasize is the LEAD program, Legal Education and Advocacy Program. That is actually providing that education and advocacy for those people, with the dedicated docket or non-detainees. Next one, please. We serve about 4,500 refugees and asylum seekers annually at this point through all these programs. And here are the country of origin for those refugees coming to us. Next slide. And as I mentioned to you before, we provide mental health services, counseling for refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants and youth. We are very trauma informed and culturally appropriate and linguistically specific. We do have staff, most of our staff speak bilingual, and they are from their communities as well. So we provide counseling services for them in their language. So that's where we are. And then for survivors of torture mental health program that we have, we served more than 1,300 the clients over the about 5 years of the period that we had this program. And once again, mental health services for detainees and non-detainees, that's what we provide. Next slide. And we also do have self-sufficiency services and community resource centers. We provide housing services, employment services, and also through community resource center, we actually do give out the food and then baby goods. I was just informed the other day that we've been distributing about 100,000 pounds of food each quarter. So far, 34,000 individual and families and 500,000 pounds of food annually. That's what we do. Next slide. And this is the picture of what we are doing, and we have so many food donations from many different places. We have partnered with the Food Lifeline, and we get a lot of donation from them, and then we distribute them to the people, needy people. Next slide. And we also do have a refugee senior services, which provide support group. So they get together. And then they support each other, and we have a very easy and simple U.S. citizenship classes and basic ESL and life skill workshops and peer support for caregivers as well. And we also oftentimes connect them to give them information and also connect them to assistance and referral services. Next. And finally, we do have a children and family services, which we could connect them, the special needs kids, connect them to childcare provider as well, and then also family support services as well. So that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jay. It's been neat to hear between Portland and the greater Puget Sound area these intricate differences between programs that have come out of the need of the community. And that's something that I deeply appreciate about Lutheran is we're able to see what the need is, ask what the need is, and then create resources, connections, and community partnerships around those needs to help people as they are resettling in our new area and becoming our new neighbors. So thank you for that. I know it's rapid fire, so keep in mind, this is our big umbrella kind of get the information to you lunch and learn. We have 7 additional ones coming up, so please be sure to check those out. If those are of interest to you, register, and we're recording those as well. So even if you're not able to attend, we will have those recordings, so you can reach out. We'll have our contact information in the chat shortly, and you can reach out and we'll send you those recordings. So if the topic is of interest to you, we have that information for you. But I will not delay, because up next is dessert, staying with our lunch theme, because this is, of course, my lunchtime too. So I am thinking about lunch. We have up an amazing board member who has kindly joined us for his lunch hour as well, Jean-Paul, and he is going to share with us a little bit about his experience and what his experience with Lutheran and his connection to Lutheran is as well. Jean-Paul?
Hi, Carrie.
Hello. Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jean-Paul Mugisha, and I am currently on a Lutheran Community Services board. And before that, in my real life, I'm a hardware engineer, and I work at Intel Corporation here in Portland, Oregon. So a little bit about like the importance of the refugee resettlement to me. It means everything to me, because I came in the US in 2014, in May of 2014 as a refugee. And when I came here, I came through Lutheran Community Services. And before that, I was in a refugee camp in Rwanda, where I spent, I would say, like most of my life, because we fled Congo when I was 3 years old, and then went to a refugee camp in Rwanda, where I spent 17 years before we came to the US. And so everything that they talked about, I went through them, like the process, like being referred to come to the US, meeting with the interviews with DHS, the medical check, everything. We went through that. My family and I went through that, and it was a long process, but in the end, we were happy that we came to the US. And mostly, I'm very, very grateful for Lutheran Community Services, because when we came to the US, we were a family. We are a family of 10, mom and dad, and eight kids. And it was hard. My parents don't speak English, and that's the case for most of the refugees. And so the kids, for us, the kids who could speak a little bit of English, we took like the responsibilities of parents, and this is the case for most refugees, and it's so hard. But with the programs at Lutheran that were available to us, we were able to use them. Like there were programs where like moms from other communities from in refugees would go and meet there, and that helped my parents to adjust. Coming to a new country without speaking English was hard, but having those programs at Lutheran where they would go and share, it helped them a lot to adjust in the new culture. One more thing that I was super grateful was the way Lutheran Community Services connect refugees to like other community members, like in the US, like where they are resettled. For an example, for me, when I came here to the US, I mean, we didn't know anybody that came, but when I got here, they connected me to volunteers here in the Portland area, and those volunteers would come and show us like how things are done. For me, I wanted to go to school. I would ask them, how do I go to school? And they'll point me to like, hey, this is how you go to school. You can go to a community college and do this. And then I followed those, where I was able to go to a community college and then get a scholarship to go to a 4-year university, where I graduated in University of where I graduated in University of Portland in electrical engineering. And so that has been really, really helpful, like connecting refugees to the community around them, or to the communities that where they come in. And it's so helpful to them and helpful to their future and the success in their new life as US people and as US people. So it's been a really, really great for me and my family to be part of Lutheran Community Service and also helping. And in the end, they reached out to me. They asked me if I could be on the board, and I was more than happy, because I want to like give back in any way that I can, since they've helped me a lot, and I would like to be helpful to others. And so yeah, that's why I'm here. And if you know any refugees that needs help, any refugee that needs help from me, or in any way, like I can help with, like they helped me, like the education process, or like anything, or even going there and explain them, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, so that's my experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jean-Paul. It has been a pleasure getting to have you on the board. He fits in so well with our culture here. We are a group of helpers. And so that speaks to his offer to help here at the end. So I deeply appreciate that. We are going to move into our question and answer time. And I am going to keep us tight on our time, because we are here for a lunch hour. That is what I promised, and we're going to stick to it, by golly. So we might do this a little rapid fire. So get ready, panelists, to unmute. Are you ready? Okay, great. We're going to start at, let's see, Jay, what is the age range for unaccompanied youth?
So URM kids, youth are under 18. But we do serve up to 21 with the extended age group services. So anybody who's under 18, we currently do take youth only, because there are some agencies who are specializing children. So there are different components there. So but 18, and then we could serve up to 21.
Wonderful. Thank you. And great question. Let's see, this question is from Matt, and I think Daryl or Lisa, you both have good insight to this. So feel free to battle at the unmute. Whoever unmutes first gets to take this one. Are these families finding jobs? Do they have skills or training that is making the transition to the US go more smoothly?
Yeah, the answer to that, the quick answer is yes, they are finding jobs. But as for what kind of jobs, it depends on their work experience, just like Americans, right? So some people are coming with, they've been working as interpreters for the US military for many years. And so they come, they're already fluent in English, and they have a lot of skills that they can use. If you recall the short video that I showed, there was Abdul. Abdul is working in our office here in Tacoma, and he's just a fantastic asset to our program. But if people come and they don't have a lot of tech skills, then they start just like a regular refugee, and they might start at an entry-level job and work their way up through the system.
And I could add for on the jobs because my parents came as refugees and they did not speak English, and Lutheran helped us with like an orientation, kind of similar to the orientation, and it was just telling them, hey, you have to come on time, you have to, if your manager tells you to do this, you do this. It was like a 1 week orientation, and they were able to go and work at a hotel, like clean, and they were able to pay rent and bills. And so yeah, even if you come without like those skills or language barrier, I think there are some programs that can help you find jobs.
And I would add in there, for those of you listening along with us, if you have connections to places who are looking for employees and some of our refugees and clients might be able to align, please let us know. Reach out. We're willing to see if these things line up. If they don't line up, no harm, no foul. If they do line up, great. Lives can be changed, and we're happy to help make that happen. So please reach out to us.
Can I mention something here regarding?
Of course, Jay.
So we do have employment program. That's why we're going for those kind of programs, and we are building a relationship with employers. So if you know any employers out there, please connect with us because we are connecting these folks to different various jobs. So if you do know anybody, just refer them to us. Thank you.
All right, this next question personally gave me a little bit of a chuckle on so many levels, but the question is, it seems like the process is slow. Is that the government or lack of housing? And you guys are laughing too, because we're so inundated with it, and it feels like it was so slow at first. And then it was a wave of just like feverish, fast movement. And then parts of it are slow. So I'd love for each of you to speak about the pace with about, maybe a minute each.
Okay, I'll take it. The general refugee resettlement program is slow. For one thing, at any given year, the presidential determination decides on about 10 to 12 places around the world where the U.S. will accept refugees for the next year. And it could be years before a certain, refugee camp or area is recognized. So I began in Thailand with refugees from Myanmar, and they've been there a long time in some of these camps. Some of these people, their grandchildren were being born in the camp before the U.S. refugee program started in that location.
So I could, let's say something after they got here, after 90 days later, right? They have to apply for EAD and then, employment authorization documentation, all that. That process has been really, really longer than before now. So I actually talked to USCIS, and that usually takes about 8 to maybe 10 months or so, but now it's taking more than 12 months because of the shortage of the staff with the USCIS. So that's even taking longer. That means they cannot generate any income until they get that. So that's been a long time. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to add, just echo. Yep. Same situation.
It's true. And it's a unique situation that we're in, because we're hitting this place and, we're feeling it in so many industries where we're getting the great resignation, dare I say it, plus some effects from COVID, and then this huge influx of clients that we're working with. And it's a trifecta that has slowed a lot of systems that we're typically used to working in and reaching out to support for. It slowed them down to a very, very snail-like pace. So that was a fantastic question. Let's see. Here is, I'm scrolling here. Oh, this was an interesting one. And Daryl, this one might be specific for you. Does DHS's decision to grant TPS for 18 months to Afghans in the US as of March 15th represent any significant improvement in their situation? Or does the shorter term TPS status afford them any additional benefits?
Yeah, I'm actually not the right person to answer that question. That's the legal ramifications, and I'm not sure of that.
Okay. Lisa, do you happen to know? And if not, we have our lawyer on staff would be able to answer that for you, Eric, and I can follow up.
Yeah, I would say the specifics of that stuff goes to our legal department.
Okay, great. Nandini and I go back and forth often. So Eric, I will follow up with you after this for that specific answer, okay?
And also just note, it's ever changing too, is also why they're the best with the most up-to-date information with that. So it's, yeah. Don't want to give a wrong answer if it was from 2 weeks ago, so.
Those parts change fast. Other things, so slow. Lynn has a question, and this is a big, heavy one. How do people survive for over a year if they can't work?
That's a tough question. So that's why we need help from a community like you. For instance, I mentioned about the housing program that we do have. That is a generous donation by an individual to do a housing program for about 3 years now. We depend on the sources like you guys. Government doesn't have a lot of funding sources to support those people after the benefit period is over. So we tap into different programs that could serve general population, including the population that we serve in this particular program. But once again, there's a huge limitation on a lot of resources like that. So we truly depend on you, for your support.
Yeah, to continue, I mean, I think most of our case management, I talked about, we have this extended case management, really is supporting folks in accessing the services, the funding support, the whatever they could be eligible, that is kind of a mainstream, when refugees are able to access all of the stuff that's available for our mainstream low income folks. And so we access a lot of that for refugees to keep them, with housing, with electricity, with food, the same way that we would work with any low income folks in our communities.
All right, and this is a question that we received a lot of input from before the event. As you know, when you registered, you had that opportunity to send us a question. And we've got a couple that are coming in, I think I saw coming in from the chat. And of course, we keep our eyes, ears, and hearts on current event and the news that's coming out of our whole world, because it impacts us deeply as people. It impacts our teams, the folks that we get to work with, as well as our clients. But the question is, are we expecting, and is there a timeline on accepting refugees from Ukraine?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. One is we have been accepting refugees from Ukraine for years now. But it's a small number, and it's under a very specialized program called the Lautenberg program for persecuted religious minorities, right? So the people who are fleeing from Ukraine right now, they don't fall under that program. So as the question was, that seems slow to gear up, and you're right, it is slow. It takes a long time to get all of the moving pieces in place, and a lot of those have been dismantled a bit over the past several years. And so there's a lot of rebuilding going on right now with the State Department. You saw those stages that I talked about where, someone has to go and interview, and there's medicals, and there's all of that. All of that needs to be rebuilt. So it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a lot longer than we think it should. Occasionally, our government will surprise us and move very quickly. But that's generally not the case. So it may be a year or more before we start seeing people from Ukraine who are currently fleeing from their country.
I don't remember, just to comment on that too, I don't know, Daryl, I can't remember if you mentioned this in your beginning, but like the average length of time people stay in a refugee camp in their first country they flee to before they come to a resettlement country is years. And so I think it's interesting, we see this stuff on the news immediately happening, but historically things, as we said, are slow, and people they flee their home country, they go to a neighboring country, and then they're in a camp or a site for years while that process is happening before they come over here. So that's kind of the process we're expecting, I think.
Yeah, you're right, Lisa. The only thing I mentioned was that I knew of some people who were having grandchildren born. Their children had been born in the camps, and now their grandchildren were being born in the camps. So it just depends on the location and the sense of urgency and the priorities of the government in the international situation.
Yep, and sharing a little bit, when my parents fled, I was 3 years old, and I left the refugee camp when I was 20, so 17 years. And that refugee camp is still there. So there are people who've been there for now over 25 years now.
That does things to my heart that I shouldn't be showing on Zoom. We are here for when that happens. For when more Jean-Pauls come, we are here. So when Ukrainian refugees come, we are here. When Afghan refugees come, we are here. That is what our job is. And that's what our promise to our community is that we are here when they're able to get here. We will have the systems in place. And if we don't have them, we're going to build them fast as we possibly can. And we will do our absolute best to serve those communities in our area. That is going to wrap us up for our time. I don't want to overlap too much if you have a 1 o'clock meeting, which I know some of us do actually. So I want to thank all of you who have taken the time out of your day to come, to be with us, to ask questions, to engage, to learn more, who have a heart for your community and for these folks who are coming into our communities to become our neighbors. We cannot do this without you. We cannot do this without your heart, without your spirit, without your support, and your support in so many different ways. So I know my great colleague Jenica put contact information into the chat. If you want to know about the different ways to support, please reach out to us. We are connecting people and their gifts every day, whatever that is. If you have gifts of time, we will take it. Gifts of housing, we will take it. Gifts of beds, hint, hint, if you have beds, we will take it. There's a wide variety of ways to get engaged now, and that will continue on as, again, we stand ready to accept more refugees. I also want to thank all of our panelists who are here. The amount of work that you all have been doing in the last 9 months is absolutely insane. We went from nursing just a little tiny baby program to this absolute blow up of a program, and the amount of human bodies coming up on 800 that we have in our care right now is phenomenal. The amount of tireless effort that you've put into these folks, into securing their safety, and making sure that they're being taken care of as humans, and that your staff is being taken care of as humans, is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm so thankful for your time. And I'm thankful that all of us, the community, and our team here at LCSNW can do this all together. So thank you for joining us for our Lunch and Learn. I hope to see you again for one of our other 7 topics. And if you have any feedback, again, please use those contacts that are in the chat. And we hope to see you again soon.